I often hear people say things like, not my dog, or I could never get my dog to do that, or I've tried everything. I'm at my wit's end. I've even heard people say things like, my dog is stupid. That one hurts. That one really hurts. I hate when people say things like that. Or my dog is just too stubborn, or you just don't understand. My dog is different. Believe me, I have heard it all. And maybe you think you have tried everything, but today's episode, we are talking about the one thing you need to do with your dog for training to be successful. Have you tried training methods that just didn't work? Do you feel that your pet is not getting his or her nutritional needs met? Are illnesses and bad behavior your daily norm? You're going to want to join me on the Pet Parenting Reset, where you'll hear interesting and informative interviews and get solutions to all your pet problems. I'm your host, Jessica L. Fisher. So yes, I've done, those list videos before, the top 3 things you have to know to train your dog, or the top 5 things that every dog owner needs to know when training their dog, all sorts of different videos around this topic. And here's the thing, all of it is true, all of it's good advice, but I wanted to just bring you the one thing. There is one thing that we have to get right. We have to get with our dog and get this foundation in place before any training at all can truly be successful. And there's lots of things that I would love to talk to you about, training your dog and all of the wonderful different things that really contribute to an all-around well-behaved dog. But we're going to boil it all down to just this one thing. If you can get this one thing in place with you and your dog, training is going to be a breeze, I promise you. And here's the thing. I hear people all the time, nothing works. You don't understand. My dog is different. Nothing. I've tried everything. Or I'm at my wit's end and just nothing works with this dog. This dog is different. I hear it over and over and over and over again. And here's the thing. Yes, every dog is an individual. And I don't argue that whatsoever. But as far as learning, it's pretty cut and dry. Yes, there may be there may be some variation with different dogs. We definitely always want to work at our dog's pace, and we want to be providing them with value so that they want to do what we're asking of them. But first and foremost, let's talk about some of the things that I do hear people say that, oh boy, these things are just, I would absolutely never, ever, ever. And these things are actually counterproductive in the long run. First of all, any sort of fear or pain. So we're talking about using quote unquote training aids. I personally think that is a complete BS statement. These quote unquote aids in training are typically just devices that people are using because they a lot of times don't know any better, but don't really have good skill in training. So we're talking about things like prong collars, shock collars, and electronic collars, whether that is a collar that will buzz or shock or even spray something at your dog. All of these are big no-nos, and they are completely counterproductive to the one thing that you really have to get in place with your dog for training to be successful. 100% counterproductive. We're talking about anything that is fear or pain. We're talking about anything negative, punishment, negative reinforcement. We do not want to use these, period. Yes, some people have shown quote unquote training progress with these devices. In reality, it is your dog or the dog in question submitting because they just don't want that fear or pain any longer. But in the long run, this isn't going to work. In the long run, you're going to see dogs that retaliate to the fear and pain. You're going to see dogs that growl and bite, and it's not good. And oftentimes we see children are kind of the brunt of that because they are easier targets. But as I said, in the long run, this is completely counterproductive to what we actually want to accomplish with our dog. So I also want to address treats. Before we get into the one thing, it's coming, I promise. I also want to address treats because a lot of people will say that that is the number one thing you need, especially in my line of I'm very positive reinforcement based. It is all about the positive reinforcement. And while, yes, I do absolutely use treats, and part of the homework that you get if you live in my neighborhood and you hire me to come train your dog with you, part of the homework you get on that very first session is to start mapping out your dog's value hierarchy. So we test out lots of different types of treats, toys, petting, playtime, all of it. And we start ranking it on a value system so we know what is most valuable to our dogs. And this is definitely not something that is set in stone. It can certainly change over time. So it is fluid. But having that groundwork, having people put that work in up front, it changes the way they think about interacting with their dog. So it's a lot easier to make adjustments to that value hierarchy over time. And one of the examples that I have recently given is that for years, Kim's favorite treat was a chicken heart. Well, that's because we had never tried a bison tongue, which she recently got in a treat box subscription, and she absolutely loves. So these things are fluid, and we just have to be aware of how things change with our dog. But all of these are rewards. These are valuable to our dogs. We just have to figure out where they rank. Now, would I say this is the number one thing that you need to implement with your dog? I mean, I would love for that to be. I would love for it to be that simple. But here's the reality, and here is the one thing. Are you ready? Today's episode is brought to you by the Furry Family Coach Dog Training. Train your dog in the comfort of your own home and on your schedule with video instruction from me. Learn the foundations of training, teach basic cues to your dog, and explore solutions to behavioral issues, all inside of this video-based online training course. Go to thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. That's thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. I can't wait to see you on the inside. So if I have to break it down into just one thing that you need to implement with your dog to set a foundation to get your dog to do virtually anything you need them to do, whether that is a sit or a stay or a recall, whatever it may be, that is to build a relationship, a positive relationship with your dog. You need to be the most valuable thing in your dog's environment at any given time. So we work inside the house. We work in different rooms of the house. We work in the backyard. We work in the front yard. We work at stores that allow dogs like Home Depot and Lowe's. We work at the park. We go and work on this as many places as possible so that you become the most valuable thing in your dog's environment. You and your dog build a relationship on trust, and you build a relationship with your dog so that they look to you when they need to make a decision and can't figure it out. When they look to you when they're scared, they look to you to find out what to do next because they trust you and they know that good things come from you. So building that relationship with your dog is the foundation of everything we do in the dog training that I teach people. A lot of the best dog trainers that I know and follow, it is the foundation of what they do in their training. It truly is not so, it's not so simple to just say, I need somebody to come in and train. And I've done videos on this before. I know about not going, sending your dog off to board and train, or just thinking you can drop your dog off at a trainer's house or, their business if they have a location outside of their home and say, here, train my dog for me. It doesn't work like that. Yes, your dog can absolutely learn things, but you know what? The number one thing they have learned is that person that has trained them, as long as it's with positive reinforcement, is incredibly valuable to them. And in reality, you need to be the most valuable thing to your dog, because do you want somebody at the park calling your dog and your dog running off to them without even checking in with you? No, absolutely not. That doesn't sound like a well-trained dog, does it? It doesn't sound like a relationship that is built on trust, does it? No. If it were, your dog would absolutely look to you and say, what is this all about? Is this something I should be doing? And then if you say yes or no, then they can respond accordingly. But it is all about building that foundation with your dog of trust and value. So we ultimately, yes, we do work on the hierarchy of value in treats and toys and petting and play and all of the things that are very rewarding and positive in our dog's life. And we transfer that value from that item to us as the dog's owner or parent, whatever you prefer to call yourself. So it's about that transfer of value to you as your dog's guardian. That is the most fundamental piece of dog training that so many people don't understand, don't grasp, don't even think about for the most part. You can go to training classes and you can teach your dog to sit, to stay, to lie down, whatever it may be. But how well does that work in the long term? How many times have you gone to a training class and in the class you can teach your dog to do whatever it is you're in the class to do, and a few weeks later you're like, man, why can't you remember how to do this? It's because you didn't build that foundation of trust. You didn't build that relationship with your dog. That is the key to a truly well-behaved dog, is having a positive relationship where you have transferred value to you as the most valuable thing in your dog's environment. So with that said, this is just the topic, the thought of the week that I wanted to get across to you. We have loads more interviews coming up on the podcast. So if you are not already following or subscribed to the podcast, whichever podcast app you prefer to listen on, please do so. I also highly encourage you to rate the podcast on the podcast app, because that is one of the best ways for that app to suggest this podcast to other people so we can help more pets and their parents. But again, don't forget the one thing. If I could only give you one thing, and believe me, I want to give you a lot of things. There's a lot. But if I could only give you one thing, this is the key, the most fundamental piece of training, and to truly get a well-behaved dog, is to build value in your relationship with your dog. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I do hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. The week ahead is wonderful for you and your pet. Please make sure to give them some extra love from me. Until next time, bye guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure that you're following the show so you never miss an episode. And please take a moment to rate the show on your podcast app. I'd also love it if you'd share this podcast with your friends and family so that they can benefit from the information to help their pets live long, happy lives too. Don't forget to take advantage of this special discount as a listener today and get access to over 100 online videos in my online dog training, The Furry Family Coach. Just go to thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. That's thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. I can't wait to have you join and see you on the inside.